Hey, Lori. What you want to talk about?
Casting a vision today.
Good. It covers a lot of ground for a lot of people, I think. So what's our version of that? What do you think would be the best way? Or let's talk for a minute about how we did it and how we continue to do it, right?
Right. Well, when I first started learning how to cast my own vision, it was about manifesting the life I wanted to create. And I realized that I needed to become the person that was worthy of a life like that. So it was really an inner reflection of who am I being in the world that would attract things to me. So working backwards, what do I want in my life? I wanted financial independence. I wanted to own my time. I wanted to have a partner in my life that was a companion and my love interest and somebody that I could be in the journey with, and great relationships, right? I wanted great relationships with my kids and with my soon-to-be spouse, who I didn't know who that was at the time.
Do you know now?
I know who it is now.
Oh, you mean it's me?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so, envisioning all of that and then going to work at, how does that come to be in your life? But be, do, have was really the preface that I built it on.
I think a lot of people think that when you hear vision statement, first of all, excuse me, I think it sounds a little, to most people, like a little dreamy, a little fluffy, like some flower child kind of thing. And those who can get on board with the benefits, at least initially, conceptually, have this idea of the vision board, right? Create a vision statement. Oh, I have a vision. And then they have a board, and it's this laborious picture pasting thing. And we've all seen that, cut out a picture. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what I think is worth talking in a little more detail about is this whole preemptive step, the pre-step to that, which you said, becoming the person that can have that stuff. That can be super confusing for people. So I think we should talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
So talk about that. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Become the person.
Become the person. Well, it's like who we're being in the world. I didn't really understand any of this until I started studying it. So it was like I wasn't present to who I was being in the world, and I was being impatient. I was being agitated. I was being frustrated. And, the more you do those things and the more you practice those things, the more you bring that stuff into your life. And I was so not present to any of that until I started studying it. And then, through different, coaches and audio tapes and different things I listened to, I would grasp this idea. I did seminars. I did all sorts of things because I'm like, why is my life going this way when I don't want it to go this way? And when you think about what you don't want, that's really what you're attracting into your life. That was one of the biggest revelations that I found was, oh my God, I'm thinking about everything I don't want in my life, and that's exactly what I have. So if it can work that way, I was a total buy-in on, well, stop thinking about what you don't want and start thinking about what you do want and who you need to be to have that. And that, making that connection of, it's really about taking responsibility. Like responsibility for who I'm being in the world is what is going to attract the things I want in my life. Like I'm the source of it. And that's a hard pill to swallow. That, look in the mirror. That's why you have what you have in your life. And a lot of people don't want to accept that the reflection, right? Your life is a reflection of who you're being in the world. You're sourcing it.
Well, yeah, but
you don't.
Yeah,
but.
Exactly. That's what you hear is yeah, but. Right.
You've taught me never to say that.
Anytime. Well, I'm saying that to bring that about.
Bring
that about. Right?
Okay.
Get it? Come with me here. Yeah.
All right.
So that's what you hear is, yeah, but,
Yeah, but.
yeah, but you don't
I
understand.
was so yeah, but.
Yeah, but you don't understand. Walk a mile in my
You
shoes,
cured
buddy.
me of yeah,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah. I'm saying, I'm thinking about, as I always want to do, who might be listening to this and say, well, yeah, but I got these kids, or I got this house, or my husband, or I got this wife, or I got this house, right? Talk about how that melts away, right? Because I think that, what we're looking for is useful salient points, at least as I see it. And the one useful salient point I heard already was, if it works that way, it can work the other way. That's
Right.
that's a big pivot. That if that can be made, like, oh my God, I had this magic sword in my pocket this whole time, instead of, why do I always get screwed here?
Right.
I can turn it around and say, why do I always win here?
Right.
No difference
How
in
can I
terms
have
of
it
the
all
power.
was my mantra. How
Right.
can I have it all? Because I was always thinking there was a trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
It was always about making a sacrifice to have something
Right.
else. And I really didn't want that. I wanted a great prosperous job, and I wanted a great relationship with my kids, and I wanted to be able to raise them and be able to balance everything. And to 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 constantly be going, well, if I do this, I can't have that. It couldn't work for me.
Yeah.
So I started to learn to say, how can I have it all? How can it be fun and rewarding and energizing? And how can I be happy through all of this? And those were things that I was so pining for,
Yep.
but not achieving. And I was always it was always in my space. Why can't I have this? And when it's those questions that you live in, right? That's another Tony Robbins thing I learned is listen to the questions that you live in. It's those questions that you're asking yourself are the ones that are driving the direction or the focus of your life. So that's when I started to say, how can I have it all? I want all. I don't want to settle.
So that's one salient point that we can turn, and the other one was, how do we dissolve the yabbits? What's the yabbit dissolution formula?
The yeah buts. The yeah buts, I have to say, is taking a good look in the mirror and going, what I have is a result of what I've created in my life, and I'm going to take responsibility for everything. And that means for relationships, and it's really hard to do this. There's like a civil war that goes on because you're constantly in your head going, yeah, but they did this, and yeah, but that is why this, and yeah, but that. And so when you're saying yeah, but to yourself, that's the first place to start. Is like, you can't have excuses. You've got to get rid of all the excuses and say, I'm 100%, but here's the benefit of that. The benefit of being 100% responsible for the way your life turns out gives you all the control. And so for us control freaks, that was a really good space for me.
Well, I think that's a great big, it sounds like a nuanced change, but that is the difference. That's the difference. So when people hear take responsibility, they hear right and wrong, right? They well, you don't understand. I had all this bad happen to me. That person did a bad. That person did a bad to me. That person did a bad to me. What are you talking about? I'm responsible. I'm going to be responsible for that. I'm not going to say that was my fault, because
you don't have to say it's your fault.
That's exactly right. So that's what I wanted to bring into contrast is, we're not saying by taking responsibility that we're accepting the blame, so to speak. If that does something for you, then that's great. But what it provides is ownership and control. What it provides is the release of the negative energy on that hurt.
Right.
Right.
And it also will it'll allow you to where the power is in how you respond. So it's not about whose fault it was. It's everybody has circumstances, and a Jim Rohn is the wind blows on us all. So it's how you set your sail. That's your response to a circumstance. So you can take a bad situation and somebody treated you bad, and you could go invoke the 4 agreements, and this is not personal. That's what's going on with them. How can I be compassionate?
Invoke the what?
The 4 agreements.
Which is a really good book that we recommend.
Right.
By Don Miguel.
Yeah.
Right. So great book
Right.
to read.
So I, these are all different references that we use, and they're tools.
Yep.
So it makes it easy to duplicate or model somebody. When you see somebody that's having the success you want in life, then it can be duplicated because they're doing something. They have practices in their life and they respond to things in a different way than you are. Because everybody has the wind blowing on us all.
Yep.
And we don't get, to not be reactive. That was a different whole way of being for me to learn to respond, not react. Because I was like hair trigger. And we all can be hair trigger, like hair trigger. So rather than take things personal, which is the 4 agreements, right? So if something's going on over there for somebody else, even if they're being mean to you, it's typically a projection. It's some kind of conversation. It's how they are reflecting the world outward, right? So whatever's inside of you, when you squeeze an orange, it doesn't come out pear juice. It comes out orange juice. So when you squeeze somebody, when the circumstances get tough, what comes out of them is what's inside. So if they're getting that on you, that's their stuff. Our job is to not let that stuff dictate who we are. We can respond compassionately. We can go, wow, that's really something must be going on for them. Like what's really going on. A lot of times we'll have that, right? We'll be in an argument and you'll be like, what's really going on? We're not arguing over toothpaste.
Right. Well, one of the things that I think is really important to contrast, and there's been some really good ones so far, is the difference around that successful person and me, like the proverbial me. I'm over here, me, and here's why they have what they have, and because it's not fair for me, right? Because they were born into it, or they had this or that. And if you spend any amount of time reading anything about people, about these success stories, you read so many more stories about people. Maybe it's why they write stories about people, I don't know, who made themselves,
Overcame.
who did it themselves.
Right.
Here's the compelling statistic. People that were born into it, the preponderance statistically is high rates of failure, addiction, overdose, like all these tragic things happen when people are born into abundance, so to speak, like wealthy.
That's why they say it skips a generation.
Trust families, et cetera. So when people are sitting back hearing, I'm putting myself in that shoe and I'm hearing you go, you just gotta, be, do have. There's a lot of habit to break out of that. So I'm interested, as we both are, in the steps to that, because how many times you just hear people go, hey, be, do, have, hey, create the vision, hey, you can have the life of your dreams. How do I start? Okay, I'm in. What do I do tomorrow? Like, what do I write down to get going here, and then I can build, right? I mean, I think it's important.
Well, the first thing I think is really buying into the belief that it's possible for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so then once you buy into it's possible for me, I'm going to create this. Then it's the visioning. What do I want to create? Right? So what do I want to create? And then be detailed. Like you're the one that's really been hitting on that, is like, don't leave any detail out. Like be specific. And a lot of times people do vision boards and things like that. I never did a vision board because I was so visual. If you're a visual person,
Right.
you might not need to actually have it on the board,
Right.
but you could, it was so in my mind because I was a single mom. So it was like my kids like right in my face. I want to provide for them and I want to have success with them and I want to have great relationships and experiences with them. So they were right there all the time. And it was my motivating factor to work hard on myself. So visioning, then the next step is really taking ownership and responsibility. So take responsibility for how things turn out. And that's a tough pill to swallow. Like I said before, it's okay. I think thinking it's possible and believing it's possible and getting yourself is an easier step. And visioning is way easier. Like blank slate. What do you want? Don't write what you don't want. Write what you do want and in great detail. Then you get to the be responsible, right? So I got to be responsible for the outcome of every single thing in my life. That's the wind blows on us all. So you can't have yeah buts. There's no yeah buts because there's no excuses. So invoking the 4 agreements when you can't take things personally and other people's stuff. And it's not just me. I think a lot of people are dictated into a box by the 5 closest people, their opinion about them, right? So if you've got your family telling you, oh, that's not such a good idea,
Right.
or judging you or criticizing you, that's immobilizing because they're the people that you need the most approval from. So you either gotta learn to cut that off and say, I don't need their approval. I'm going to do what I want and stand in my own and be myself. And that's a tough, tough thing to do.
Yep.
So there can always be these inner conflicts, right? The judgment of the people you care about the most and their pull for you to be who you've been
Right.
back, right?
Right.
So it's like an elastic band and a boomerang where you're pulling to be somebody else that you want to be. And they're pulling you back because they have these expectations of how you ought to be.
Right.
Those are tough things to deal with.
Terms that we hear a lot lately, because they want you to be safe. Right?
Yeah.
They want you to be safe.
Or they don't want the contrast between what they're doing and what you're doing to get too wide, the gap.
That's right. Some fear of loss for them. That's a tough one because that's family and close friends.
Right. Another good book is The 12 Pillars. First chapter is who do you hang around with?
Yep.
Associations.
Yeah, I want to go back in our last 5 or 6 minutes. And you said, I think there's some tool here. You said that I think the belief is pretty simple. I would submit that it's not that simple because what all of us carry around, most of us carry around is I'm not worth it. Like I'm not worthy. I'm not worth it.
Right.
So that's a big thing. Like you can say, "Oh, I believe," or I'm worth it,"
Yep.
and then they go into visioning, like, "Oh, well, if it's okay,
I just want to pay my bills.
like to get by." Just
I don't really want that.
I used to have a partner that doesn't
God.
smack me around so much. Just maybe once a week,
Well, that's a real big one too, because that when I worked a full-time job and I had small children, they went to daycare, and I used to always say all the reasons why daycare was great.
Right.
When really inside,
Right.
I didn't want to do that. I
Sure.
wanted to be home
No
with
mother
my kids.
does. Right?
I wanted to be home with my kids
Sure.
in the worst way, and I built my identity into you're good at what you do, you're smart, you're successful at work, and you're not really good in the mother management home thing. And I had it that way for the longest time until I saw the possibility that I could stay home and raise my kids myself. Then I started to let the cat out of the bag on that. So we tell ourselves a lot of things that we're not deserving of.
I think so. We recommend a really good tool that's 13 minutes long is the Shauna Shapiro
Yes.
video. It's on YouTube. Shauna
The
Shapiro.
power of
Mindfulness.
oh yeah,
Power of
the
mindfulness.
power of mindfulness
Yeah.
by Shauna
It's
Shapiro.
a pun there somewhere.
I lost my mind.
A really good way. It's not read a whole book,
Right.
which is a worthy endeavor, and many should be read. We recommended today the 12 Pillars and the 4 Agreements. But step 1 is to watch that video. Shauna
Yeah.
Shapiro, the Power of Mindfulness.
Power of Mindfulness. It's right on YouTube. It's
So
13
good.
minutes long. It's so good. It really hits home with a lot of people.
So if you watch that once, are we done with that?
No. It's a practice. I was just going to say it's a practice. And the other thing is the affirmations is like journaling. You've journaled for 27 years or more than that now, 30 years, whatever it's been. That journaling, that writing down, I used to do it through my daily magic walk. I used to do my affirmations while I was walking and do my exercise and listening to myself talk and visioning. But my affirmations were consistent. And just like today, we were struggling at the beach today. We're doing our run, and I'm like, oh, God, this is killing me. So I started to do an affirmation where I'm burning fat and building muscle, because I'm in this traumatic state. That's why they say that those mantras really work when you're exercising.
I think there's a lot to talk about in that because it's anchoring, right?
Yes.
There's all that anchoring. There's so many. I think really what we have to offer is the world is collectively about 50 years of what we would call personal development.
Yep.
Right. So every time we get into something, I go, it gets bigger, like boom, 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 boom.
Like we can't just talk about visioning because there's so many layers underneath it.
But I think it's a really good start, and maybe it's the checklist nature that I have that trying to create some value is I think we really have done that today. So we have how do you cast a vision? What do you want for yourself? Is what you're doing okay 5 years from now? Take a snapshot 5 years from now and 10 years from now, and are you okay with where you're at today?
Right.
Yes or no?
The answer is no.
Yes or no? No. Then it's like an if-then statement for those old spreadsheet users. Then it's the miracle of the power of mindfulness by Shauna Shapiro. Every day, and then do that exercise every day. There's a quick 2-second exercise.
A lot of people find it very difficult and challenging to face your demons, to face those inner horrific things that you say to yourself. And I always, if I'm working with a parent or somebody, I will say to them, okay, think about if your daughter said those things that you say to yourself, to herself. Right. Because if you don't even need to say those things out loud. It's who you're being is a projection of these thoughts. So she's learning these things through your behavior and the way you treat yourself. She's learning those same behaviors. So if it tears you up that your daughter might think those things of herself, then you have to take responsibility for you not saying those things to yourself, that little whisper.
Right. Yeah, it's like that saying, who you're being is so loud I can't hear what you're saying.
Right.
So there's that. That's step 1. Step 2, cast the vision, right? Yep. Believe that it's possible for you. Step 2, cast the vision. 3.
Write it down. Yeah.
And what was 3?
Number 3 was taking full responsibility, like ownership of the response that you get from the world. You've got to change that. And a lot of times people don't know their blind spots, so they don't know that they're triggered, reacting to something that, because it like happens in a nanosecond, right? Something happens and it hits some little wound and you're going to freak out.
That's right. So that's a whole nother different talk. So let's cut it off at there. I think that's really awesome. I think we got 3 great steps. You want to have the life you want. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. It's not really true, but some good.
And 20 years later,
some good takeaways. So we'll leave it at that.
All right.
Good talk.
All right.
See you soon.
Okay. Have a good day.